stop. For a moment, take your attention away from whatever you are doing right now, because what I'm about to tell you is not just a story. It is a truth connected to your life. It is about the choice every human being makes each day. It is about the voice you hear, and it is about the path you choose. You often ask me why pain enters life. You ask why peace slips away. You wonder how people drift away from my blessings. But if you understand the beginning, you will understand so much more. When I created the world, my purpose was not fear. My purpose was love. My purpose was not bondage. My purpose was companionship. I did not create man to live a life filled with struggle. I created him to dwell in an atmosphere of my love. I gave him a place where there was peace, where there was no fear, where there was no lack, where there was no guilt, where every morning began with hope, and every day was spent in closeness with me. When Adam and Eve lived in that beautiful garden, they had everything they needed. They did not have to worry each day about where their food would come from. They had no fear of the future. They did not have to spend their nights wondering what tomorrow would bring. They lived in my presence, and my presence was their greatest treasure. Many people think that wealth is the greatest blessing. Some think that success is the greatest blessing. Some think that fame is the greatest blessing. But the greatest blessing has always been walking with me. For where my presence is, peace is born. Where my presence is, purpose becomes clear. Where my presence is, the soul finds rest. Imagine a small child. He's crossing the road, holding his father's hand. He does not fully understand traffic. He does not see every danger. But he is safe because his hand is in the right hand. His safety does not come from his own strength. His safety comes from his relationship. This is the lesson of life. True safety does not always come from control. True safety comes from right guidance, and this was the blessing Adam and Eve possessed. They walked with me, they listened to my voice, they respected my instructions, and as a result, there was peace in their lives. But there is a profound truth here that you must understand. Love never coerces. I gave humanity the capacity to choose. For without choice, love is not real. I wanted them to obey me because they trusted me, not because they were forced to. That is why I gave them a boundary. I gave an instruction, a command that served as a wall of protection for them. Often people mistake boundaries for restrictions. But not every boundary is a shackle. Some boundaries are for protection. A parent tells their child not to touch a burning fire. Is that a lack of love? No, that is love. They know the pain that the child does not yet comprehend. Similarly, when I said not to eat the fruit of that specific tree, my purpose was not to withhold something good from them. My purpose was to protect them from a consequence they could not grasp. Some lessons reveal their purpose only with the passage of time. What seems like a boundary today may prove to be protection tomorrow. What seems like a denial today can become a form of protection tomorrow. But the story does not end there. For within every blessing, a test also arises. With every act of faith comes a choice. And this was the moment when everything was about to change. One day, another voice emerged. A voice that sounded like the truth but was not. A voice that was alluring but untrustworthy. A voice that promised immediate gain while concealing future pain. That is how temptation works. It never reveals its true form. It always enters by presenting something appealing. Consider a fisherman. He does not leave the hook exposed. He conceals it with bait. The fish sees the bait, but not the danger. And by the time it realizes the reality, it is already too late. The lesson of life is clear. Not everything that glitters is a blessing. Not every attractive opportunity is the right one. Not every voice promising pleasure speaks the truth, and that is why discernment is so essential. Adam and Eve too faced a choice. My voice or the other voice, faith or doubt, obedience or curiosity, truth or illusion, and unfortunately, they heeded the voice that was leading them away from me. But before you blame them, look at your own life. How often have you chosen a path you knew wasn't right? How often have you ignored a warning? How often has a quiet voice within told you to stop, yet you pressed on? Such is the reality of human nature, and that is why this story is not merely a thing of the past. It remains alive today, every day, in every decision, in every relationship, in every choice. And what I am about to share will help you understand how a single wrong decision can alter not just a moment, but the entire course of a life. Yet it also reveals that my mercy can reach even those places where a person has committed their gravest mistake. What happened that day was not merely an incident of eating a fruit. Many people view the story only up to that point and move on. But I want you to understand the truth hidden beneath it, because the real problem was not the fruit. The real problem was the breaking of trust. The real problem was that they trusted the voice that taught them to doubt me. And this is precisely where most people struggle even today. The enemy does not always call you directly toward evil. He first plants a small question in your mind, a small doubt, a small delusion. And then he makes that very doubt grow larger. He compels you to think that perhaps my path is not the best one. Perhaps my plan is not enough. Perhaps you should follow your own way. Perhaps you should immediately take what appears appealing to you. And that is the moment when many people lose their way, because every wrong direction begins with a wrong belief. Remember, life always moves in the direction of your decisions, and decisions are always born from your beliefs. If you believe in the truth, your steps will move toward the light. If you believe in delusion, your steps will begin to move toward darkness. Imagine a traveler heading toward a high mountain. He holds the correct map in his hand, but along the way, someone hands him another map. That person speaks with great confidence. His words sound appealing. The traveler thinks that perhaps this is the better route. He discards his original map. For a few hours, everything seems fine, but gradually, the path becomes difficult. Then he loses his way. Then he realizes that the problem was not the mountain. The problem was the wrong direction. The lesson of life is that moving rapidly in the wrong direction ultimately leads only to going astray. And this is exactly what happened with Adam and Eve. They abandoned the truth that was protecting them. They chose the voice that was enticing them. And in that very moment, a door opened that gave rise to sorrow, fear, guilt, and struggle. But there is a deeper point here. The first consequence of sin was not punishment. The first consequence of sin was distance. As soon as they disobeyed my command, something within them changed. Their perspective changed. Their mindset changed. Their peace changed. Those who were once free suddenly became afraid. Those who once lived in joy suddenly began to hide. And the same thing happens today. When a person drifts away from the truth, their inner peace is the first thing to be affected. Many people smile on the outside, yet remain restless within. Many possess everything, yet remain unsatisfied. Many achieve success, but lose their peace. For the peace of the soul does not come merely from external achievements. It comes from a relationship with me. Look at a river. As long as it remains connected to its source, its flow continues. But if that connection to the source is severed, it gradually begins to dry up. This is the lesson of life. When a connection is broken, strength begins to wane, and when a human being drifts away from their creator, their soul begins to feel a similar thirst. Perhaps you too have experienced this. Everything appeared normal, yet there was an emptiness within. Everything seemed fine, yet there was no peace. This is a sign that the soul is seeking something the world alone cannot provide. And that is why I call you to myself, time and again. I do not call you to control you. I call you to lead you toward wholeness. I do not call you to limit you. I call you to keep you safe. But the story goes deeper still. For when Adam and Eve made the wrong choice, the consequences were not limited to that day alone. Every choice has consequences. Some consequences appear immediately. Others unfold gradually. If a farmer sows good seeds, a good harvest grows in time. If he sows bad seeds, the same field yields a different result. The seed may be small, but its impact is immense. Similarly, decisions may seem small, yet they determine the direction of the future. Adam and Eve made a decision in a single moment, but thereafter, they had to face a world filled with struggle, a world of toil, a world of pain, where there was sweat, where life was no longer as simple as it once was. And this is the very thing that many people still forget today. They want to make decisions, yet they do not want to take responsibility for the consequences. They want to make choices, yet they do not want to understand the impact of those choices. But life does not work that way. Every path leads to a destination, and every destination is the result of the direction we chose. Some lessons reveal their purpose only with the passage of time. Some pain teaches us what comfort never could. Some mistakes grant us an understanding that knowledge alone cannot provide. But here is something that might touch your heart. Even though Adam and Eve made a mistake, even though they disobeyed my command, even though they chose to stray from the path I had set for them, my love did not cease. Yes, there were consequences. Yes, they had to leave the garden. Yes, they had to face hardships. But I did not abandon them. For my love is not meant only for the good days. My love endures even when man stumbles. And this is the truth that many fail to grasp. They think that a single mistake ends everything. They think their past will define them forever. They think their failure is the final word. But the story does not end where the mistake was made. Often that is precisely where transformation begins. And that is the place where healing is born. That is the place where mercy begins its work. That is the place where the lost can find their way back. But what I'm about to share next is perhaps the most important part of this entire story. For now, we will not speak merely of the mistake. We will speak of the hope that survives even after the mistake. We will speak of the love that endures even amidst justice. And we will speak of the grace that has the power to lift a person up even after they have fallen. Now, I want you to look at your life for a moment, not just at the story of Adam and Eve. Look at your heart. Look at your decisions. Look at those moments when you knew the right path, yet a struggle raged within you. For if you look honestly, you will realize that this story is not merely an event from the distant past. It plays out within every human being today, every day, in every choice, in every temptation, in every moment when truth and convenience stand face to face. I know that there have been times when you chose paths you later regretted. I know that some decisions caused you pain, some words wounded relationships, some misguided beliefs led you astray for a long time, and perhaps you still carry wounds within you that are the result of those very decisions. But I want you to understand something very important. A mistake does not define who you are. Stumbling does not determine your future. Failure is not your final identity. Yes, decisions have consequences, but consequences are not the end of the story. Imagine a potter. He held a beautiful clay vessel in his hands. Suddenly, it slipped and shattered. An onlooker might have said that it was all over, but the potter does not give up. He gathers the clay again. He kneads it once more. He shapes it anew, and often the second vessel turns out even more beautiful than the first. That is the lesson of life. Breaking is not always the end. Often, breaking marks the beginning of a new creation. And this is precisely where my grace begins to work. For my grace is not reserved only for those who have never made a mistake. My grace is also for those who have fallen but wish to rise again. My grace extends even to those who have wandered off but wish to return home. My grace extends even to those who have grown weary but wish to walk again. That is why, when Adam and Eve made a mistake, I did not simply end their story right there. Consequences followed, yet hope remained. Pain came, yet purpose endured. Struggle arose, yet my love did not cease. And the same holds true for your life. Perhaps today you feel that some opportunities have been lost. Perhaps some relationships have been broken. Perhaps some dreams have remained unfulfilled. Perhaps there are things that can no longer be changed. But this does not mean your future is over. For I do not look only at what has been lost. I also see what can still be created. Look at a tree damaged by a fierce storm. Some branches broke off, some leaves were blown away. But if its roots remain alive, the story is not over. In time, new branches can sprout, new leaves can emerge, new life can return. This is the lesson of life. As long as the root lives, hope lives. And as long as you remain connected to me, restoration is possible. But there is a deeper truth here that you must understand. Many people are distressed by the consequences, but fail to learn from them. They repeat the same mistakes over and over. They choose the same path that hurt them before. They listen to the same voice that misled them before. And then they expect a different outcome. But wisdom does not come merely from enduring pain. Wisdom comes from learning from pain. Think of a traveler who once took the wrong path. He wandered for hours. He faced hardships. Eventually, he returned to the right path. Now, if he were to take that same wrong path again, the problem would not lie with the path. The problem would be that he failed to learn the lesson. Some lessons reveal their purpose only with the passage of time. Some wounds teach us to change direction. Some disappointments teach us discernment. Some delays teach us patience. And some failures grant us the humility that success requires. That is why I want you not merely to remember your past. Learn from it too. Do not just weep over your mistakes. Gain wisdom from them as well. Do not just look at your wounds. Consider also what they have taught you. For the one who learns becomes strong, and the one who becomes strong can face future challenges far better. But there is another truth here that might surprise you. Often, the very thing that causes you the most pain is what draws you closest to me. When everything goes smoothly, people often become self-reliant. But when life becomes difficult, they begin to search deeply. They seek answers. They seek purpose. They seek me. Look at a mountaineer. When walking on flat ground, there is no need for extreme caution. But when climbing to great heights, every step is taken with deliberate care. The challenge makes them more aware. This is the lesson of life. Some struggles do not come to weaken you. They come to give you depth. They lift you above the surface and lead you toward the truth. And that is where true transformation begins. But the story goes even further. For it is not enough to simply know that there is hope after a mistake. You must also understand the purpose behind my commandments. Are they merely rules? Are they just restrictions? Or is there something deeper hidden behind them? What I'm about to share will help you understand that my words were not given to take away your freedom, but to protect you. And this understanding can change so much. Now I want you to set aside, for a moment, all the misconceptions people have about me. For many view my words merely as a list of rules. They think my commandments are nothing but restrictions. They believe I want to take something away from them. But if you knew my heart, you would understand that love lies behind every word I speak. I never offered guidance to diminish your life. I have always provided direction to keep you safe. A father tells his child not to walk alone on a deserted road at night. Is he stripping away the child's freedom? No. He sees a danger that the child cannot yet perceive. A mother tells her child to take only the prescribed dosage of medicine. Does she wish to control the child? No, she seeks the child's well-being. This is the lesson of life. When love is genuine, it does not merely grant permission. It also provides protection, and protection requires guidance. That is why I warned Adam and Eve. I was not keeping them from joy. I was shielding them from pain. I was not depriving them of anything. I was protecting them from harm they could not comprehend. But there is something else you must understand. The enemy always makes things that lead to ultimate destruction appear attractive. He never reveals the consequences up front. He shows only immediate pleasure. He shows only instant gain. He shows only what your eyes desire to see. A traveler standing by a river sees the water glistening in the distance. He assumes the path is easy, but he fails to see the swift current beneath the surface. If an experienced person warns him and he chooses to ignore it, the danger lies not in the water, but in his own decision. This is the lesson of life. Wisdom comes from more than just information. Wisdom comes from heeding the right warnings. And this is precisely where many people struggle. They hear advice but do not heed it. They know the truth but do not embrace it. They see the path but do not walk it. And then, when the consequences arrive, they fail to understand why it happened. But today, I want you to understand that every outcome is linked to a seed of some kind. If a farmer sows wheat, wheat is what grows. If he sows thorns, thorns are what emerge. A seed is small, yet the future lies hidden within it. Your thoughts are seeds. Your decisions are seeds. Your words are seeds. Your habits are seeds. And over time, they all combine to form the harvest of your life. That is why I want you to pay attention not only to major decisions but also to small choices. For often, life does not change through a single big decision. It changes through the small choices made every day. Listen to the story of a carpenter. He was building a house. People looked only at the walls, but he devoted the most time to the foundation. Some people mocked him. They thought he was working too slowly. But years later, when the storm struck, the house with the strong foundation was the one that remained standing. The lesson of life is clear. What is unseen is often the most important. Character is unseen. Wisdom is unseen. Discipline is unseen. Yet the future is built upon these very things, and that is why I work upon your heart. For if the heart is aligned in the right direction, life too gradually begins to move in the right direction. But there is another profound truth here. When Adam and Eve disobeyed me, they did not merely break a rule, they wounded a relationship. And every relationship rests on trust. If a friend repeatedly breaks your trust, distance begins to grow. If a partner constantly hides the truth, closeness begins to fade. Similarly, when a person ignores my words, their soul gradually drifts away from the peace found in walking with me. But this is where many people make a mistake. They think that if they have wandered far away, they cannot return. They think that if they have made too many mistakes, there is no hope left for them. They think their story is over. But I want to share a truth with you that can fill your heart with light. I am not merely a God of justice. I am also a God of restoration. I do not only look at consequences, I also grant new beginnings. A shepherd had 100 sheep. One sheep wandered off. It strayed far away. It lost its way. But the shepherd did not abandon it. He searched for it. He called out to it. He brought it back. This is the lesson of life. What is lost is not lost forever. As long as the desire to return remains alive, hope remains alive. And that is why I still call out to people today. I do not call them to condemn them. I call them to bring them back home. I do not call them to shame them. I call them to heal them. I do not call them to punish them. I call them to give them life. And this is where healing truly begins. When a person stops hiding their wounds, when they acknowledge their mistakes, when they begin to look toward me again, when they understand that my grace is greater than their failures. Some lessons are understood only with the passage of time. Some closed doors are actually forms of protection. Some difficult experiences become gifts of wisdom. Some tears become seeds of future wisdom. And the deepest roots often grow in places where no one is watching. But the story is not over yet. For now, it is time to grasp the ultimate truth that connects the story of Adam and Eve to your own life. This is not merely an event from the past. It is also the story of your present decisions, your future, and your relationship with my grace. And what the next part reveals will help you understand how my grace can offer a fresh start, even to someone who has lost their way, and how my word remains a source of life, protection, and blessing to this day. And now, I want you to look at this story not merely as the tale of Adam and Eve. View it as a mirror reflecting your own life. For in every generation, in every era, every human being faces the same fundamental question. Will they trust my words? Or will they follow the voice that beckons them toward an easy yet dangerous path? This very choice determines the direction of one's life. Adam and Eve made a decision. That decision altered the circumstances of their lives. They had to leave the garden. They had to face toil. They had to experience pain. They had to live in a world where things were no longer as simple as they once were. But if you look closely, another truth reveals itself. They lost a measure of my grace. Yet I did not abandon them completely. I allowed them to keep breathing. I allowed them to build a family. I allowed them to carry on with life. I gave them hope. For my nature is not merely to judge. My nature is also to restore. And this is the truth I wish to plant in your heart today. If you've made wrong decisions, your life isn't over. If you've strayed, the path is not irretrievably lost. If you have fallen, rising again is still possible. For my grace is not reserved only for the perfect. My grace extends to those who wish to return. Imagine a mountaineer who has lost their way. For hours they kept walking in the wrong direction. When they realized their mistake, they faced two choices. Either sit down in despair, or begin the journey back in the right direction. Their past mistake does not make their destination impossible to reach. It merely makes the journey longer. This is the lesson of life. A mistake does not always destroy the future, but persisting in a mistake can harm the future. And that is why I call out to you again and again. I want you to return. I want you not merely to listen to my words, but to make them the foundation of your life. For my words are not just commands. They are protection. They are direction. They are light. They are life. Look at a lamp burning in the dark of night. It does not illuminate the entire road, but it reveals the next step. And that very next step is enough to move you forward safely. My word is just like that. Often I do not show you the entire journey. I show only the next step, because faith does not mean seeing everything. Faith means walking in the right direction, even if the final destination is not yet visible. Some people seek only miracles, but I want you to seek the truth as well. Some people desire only blessings, but I want you to gain wisdom too. Some people want only results, but I want you to develop character as well. For blessings do not endure without character. Success is not secure without wisdom, and opportunities can be lost without direction. That is why I work to transform your heart, because when the heart changes, life begins to change. Think of an eaglet. When it stands at the edge of the nest for the first time, it feels afraid. It fears that if it moves forward, it will fall. But it does not realize that the ability to fly already exists within it. It simply needs to learn to trust that ability. The same happens in your life. You feel afraid. You worry about the future. You wonder if you will be able to move forward. But I see what you cannot yet see. I see the potential placed within you. I see the purpose for which you were created. I see the power that is not yet fully unfolded. And that is why I do not tell you to give up. I tell you to rise. I do not tell you to live in fear. I tell you to walk in faith. I do not tell you to remain trapped in the past. I call you to move forward. But here's a final and profound truth. The story of Adam and Eve is not merely a story of disobedience. It is a story of consequences. It is a story of choices. It is a story of trust. And above all, it is a story of my grace. For if there had been only justice, the story would have ended right there. But grace carried the story forward, and that same grace is at work today. When you fall, it gives you the chance to rise. When you wander, it shows you the way back. When you are broken, it puts you back together. When you are in despair, it awakens new hope within you. And when you feel that all is lost, it reminds you that I'm still at work. Some things are understood only with time. Some delays are actually protection. Some struggles are actually preparation. Some closed doors are actually safeguards. And some paths that seem difficult are the very ones that lead you to the right destination. So today, I extend this invitation to you. Turn your heart once again toward my truth. Bring your thoughts into my light. Let your decisions be guided by my words. And watch how peace begins to take root within you. How wisdom begins to grow stronger. How direction becomes clear. How fear begins to subside. And how hope comes alive once more. For where my light is, darkness cannot remain forever. Where my truth is, illusion ultimately fails. Where my grace is, a new beginning is possible. And where my love is, there is always a way. If this message has touched your heart, remain still for a few moments today. Reflect on the decisions in your life that taught you something. Recall the warnings that saved you. Remember the times you might have gone astray, but somehow found the right path. Recall the moments when you felt all was lost, only to realize later that I was at work the entire time. Then, anchor this belief in your heart. My words remain true today. My love is still alive, my grace is still available, and the one who walks my path finds not only direction, They find life, they find peace, they find security, and they experience the blessing that comes from walking with me. Now, move forward with faith, for the story is not over. The most beautiful chapter is yet to be written.